Hey everyone, welcome to Believe in Your English. You're better than you think. I'm so glad you're joining us today because we're diving into something super important, believing in yourself and your English skills. We know it can be tough sometimes, feeling like you're not making progress, but I promise you, you're probably much better than you give yourself credit for. Today, we want to help you see that and build up that confidence. It's so interesting because many intermediate learners, especially around the B1, B2 level, often feel like they're not making progress, or even worse, they feel stuck. They have a really solid foundation, but somehow they underestimate themselves.
Absolutely. It's a very common experience. People often tell us they feel like they've hit a plateau, even when, from an objective standpoint, they're communicating effectively. It's almost like they have imposter syndrome, where they feel like they're faking it or that their English isn't as good as others perceive it to be.
Exactly. They'll overlook how much they've already achieved. They can understand most conversations, read articles, express opinions, but that little voice in their head just says, nope, not good enough. It's tough because they've come so far, but they're focusing on the small gaps rather than the huge leap they've already made.
That's right. They tend to compare themselves to native speakers or advanced learners, which can be disheartening. We see it all the time. A learner will successfully hold a conversation, understand a complex sentence, and then immediately dismiss it because they stumbled on one word or made a minor grammatical error.
Exactly. And it's important for listeners at the B1 or B2 level to really understand what that means. You're not a beginner anymore. At B1, you can understand the main points of clear standard input on familiar matters regularly encountered in work, school, leisure, and so on. You can deal with most situations likely to arise while traveling in an area where the language is spoken. And at B2, you can understand the main ideas of complex text on both concrete and abstract topics, including technical discussions in your field of specialization. You can interact with a degree of fluency and spontaneity that makes regular interaction with native speakers quite possible without strain for either party. This means that you can have real conversations, express opinions, and describe experiences. You have a powerful foundation. You are much further along than you might think, and it's time to embrace those capabilities. Exactly. And that brings us to a huge point. Speak up, don't worry about being perfect. So many of us get stuck because we're terrified of making a mistake. We replay sentences in our heads over and over, trying to make them flawless before we even open our mouths. But here's the thing. Communicating your message clearly is way more important than perfect grammar or pronunciation. Think about it. If you can order a coffee and explain you want oat milk instead of regular milk, even if you say, I want oat milk, please, instead of I would like oat milk, you've succeeded. You got your message across. Or let's say you're telling a story about your weekend. You might mix up a past tense verb or two, but if the person you're talking to understands the main points, you went to the park, saw a friend, and had fun, then that's a win. That successful communication will build your confidence much more than staying silent to avoid a tiny error.
That's a fantastic point, and leading on from that, I think it's vital for learners to actually acknowledge and celebrate their small achievements. We often focus too much on the big picture, the fluency we want to reach, and forget to appreciate the steps we've already taken. Think about it. Successfully ordering food in a restaurant, understanding a new phrase from a TV show, or even just participating in a short conversation with a shop assistant. These aren't minor things. These are daily wins that prove your English is working for you. Each one reinforces your progress. It's like building a wall brick by brick. Each brick might seem small, but together they create something strong and lasting. Recognizing these mini milestones is truly crucial for building lasting confidence. If you don't celebrate these smaller victories, it's easy to feel like you're not making any progress at all. So take a moment. Pat yourself on the back. You're doing better than you think.
So, how do we actually put all this into practice? We've talked a lot about mindset, but what about the doing? One great way to use your English is to dive into online communities.
Absolutely. Forums, social media groups, even dedicated language exchange apps. They're fantastic for low-pressure practice. You can type out your thoughts, read what others are saying, and you're often engaging with people who are also learning.
Exactly. And don't forget speaking with native speakers. It can feel intimidating at first, but there's so many platforms that connect learners with native speakers for conversation practice.
Even just striking up a chat with someone online who shares a hobby can be brilliant.
Indeed. And of course, consuming English media. Beyond just passive listening, try to actively engage with it. Watch a TV show and try to summarize an episode afterward, or read a news article and discuss it with a friend. The key is active participation.
But what about feedback? That can be a scary word for some people. How do we get it without feeling like we're being judged?
That's a crucial point. When seeking feedback, be specific about what you'd like comments on. For example, could you tell me if my pronunciation of these words was clear? Or did I make any obvious grammatical errors in this sentence? This helps to frame the feedback as a learning tool, rather than a critique of your overall ability.
That's smart. And if someone offers unsolicited feedback, try to view it as helpful information, not a personal attack. They're usually trying to help you improve, even if their delivery isn't always perfect. The goal is growth, not perfection. And this brings us to taming that inner critic, right? That voice in your head that says, oh, your English isn't good enough, or you made a mistake, everyone noticed. It's so common. When you catch yourself thinking something negative, try to reframe it. Instead of, I always mess up my prepositions, try, okay, prepositions are tricky, but I understood the main idea, and I'll get better with practice. Or if you think, my accent is terrible, flip it to, my accent shows I'm a global speaker, and I'm clearly understood. It's about replacing that negative self-talk with positive affirmations that are true and encouraging.
Exactly. And it's so important to remember that you've already come so far. Think about where you started, perhaps with just a few words or phrases. Now you're understanding podcasts like this, participating in conversations, and expressing yourself in a foreign language. That's not just a little step, it's a huge leap. Trust in those abilities you've built. Acknowledge every single minute of effort you've poured into learning, because it truly shows. You have valuable English skills, more than you give yourself credit for.
So remember, you are often better than you think. Keep believing in your journey.
Absolutely. Embrace all the progress you've made and trust in your English skills. You've got this.